Hi, this is Scott Dudley, and welcome to Funnel Fella Radio. We're up to episode number 23 today, where we're going to be looking at optimizing visual hierarchy to influence visitor actions. So, when creating landing pages, or pretty much any type of page where you want the user to take a specific action, it's very important to be focusing on conversion when designing a page. Okay, so-called web design is normally or traditionally all focused on making pages look pretty and professional and all about the actual design of the page. But from experience, often what looks pretty and sexy and what actually converts better are two completely different things. So rather than giving you the wrong impression, I'm not saying here that you should deliberately be making your pages look ugly. Far from it. However, the point is that conversions are far more important than designing an attractive page that just looks nice. Okay, because a page that looks nice doesn't necessarily uh, convert and bring in profit. So, the concept that I'm going to introduce to you today is called visual hierarchy, and it's designed to help your page quickly get the attention of your visitors by placing certain items on the page more prominently than others. And to show you an example of visual hierarchy, let's take a look at a case study that implemented this successfully to improve conversions. So this is another case study from VWO, and I've linked to the page in the show notes. And I've already opted in here, and this is the case study. So the company that did this test was a company called Underwater Audio, a US based supplier of products such as aqua goggles, swim buds, headphones, and waterproof iPods, which is an interesting product line. So customers from several countries around the globe order the products through its e-commerce website, and they used VWO platform for some optimization work on their website. So, as with most tests, the primary objective here was to increase sales. Obviously, that's not always the case. Uh, Sometimes the objective may be just to increase opt-ins for lead generation, but in this case it was to increase sales. So they've shown us here what the original page or the control looked like. So you've just got for those people that are listening to this on the podcast, you've got a header uh, image up the top left-hand corner with some menu items on the top right, and then it's sort of got some credit card images underneath there on the right hand side, and then under there is the main navigation menu, and then you've got a photograph of a swimmer wearing a hair hat or whatever you call it. I'm not sure what you actually call those things, but anyway, to give them more traction in the water over their head. And they've got a headline: genuine waterproof iPod and swim buds headphones. Underneath there is a button to click on to learn more, and then they've got a testimonial to the right of that, and then underneath there they've got a 3-column row showing some of the products. So the business primary need was to increase sales through the company's online store. So the solution here was to improve the visual hierarchy to guide the visitors' actions. So they knew that they only had a few seconds in which to grab the attention of visitors, show them exactly what the site's about and the value that they'll get from the site. So they considered additional elements that could be changed to drive more engagement and sales, which falls under the category of visual hierarchy in conversion rate optimization. So the main thing that they were looking at here was about using subtle visual cues to guide the thought patterns of visitors so that they process information in the right order and take the right action that you actually want them to. So while visual hierarchy is a much talk about subject, it's an interesting point that they raise here that not many actually consider it as a basis for A/B testing ideas. But in this case, the underwater audio team decided to test this and find out. So the initial hypothesis was that because of the F-shaped eye pattern of visitors, swapping the placement of the call to action button and the testimonial bubble would visually reinforce the thought progression, where it would start from the title and then go to the quotation or the testimonial and then the actual action. That was the order that they wanted the eyes to see the elements on the page. Because currently, if we look at the original one, you've got the headline top left. Below that is the button to learn more, but they see the button because it's on the left hand side before the actual testimonials on the right hand side. So the main thinking here was that they wanted them to see the testimonials before they see the button. So by swapping the testimonials over to the left and then moving the button over to the right, then that would cause more people to opt in because they've seen the testimonials first. And that's what they're talking about with the F-shaped eye pattern. So the idea was, in turn, this would make the page more compelling and thus increase sales. An added benefit of this change would be that the main impact of the product, which was hidden under the testimonial bubble in the control page, would become more clearly visible. So the products haven't moved on either page, they're in the same spot, but because they've moved the testimonial and the call to action items at the very top of the page, then this makes the products look more noticeable. So they're showing now the variation page after the call to action button and the testimonial bubble was swapped. All right, so now after the changes, you see exactly the same headline top left. Directly underneath the headline, you see the testimonials, and then on the right hand side of the testimonials, you see the button, which is the call to action button. So basically the thought pattern is here that, as I just said before, that they'll see the testimonials before they see the call to action button. So they set up the A/B test and they run it on the VWA platform. And as it turned out, the variation resulted in a 35.6% increase in sales. So their thinking was absolutely correct. So if we have a look at an image here that shows what changes were made in the variation, I might just need to zoom in a bit here. That's a small image. So what they're saying here is that visual elements in the variation page were rearranged to follow the F-shaped pattern of eye movement, and this meant that visitors read the testimonial before they came to the call to action button, which influenced their decision and increased the sales of underwater audio by 35.6%. And if you have a look at what they're actually talking about, you can see the F-shaped pattern. So their intuition was exactly correct. So the case study emphasizes that web design is not only about aesthetics, which is what I was saying before, that there's much more to it than just designing pretty pages. And the relative visual weight of various elements on the web page is what decides how clearly it conveys your message to visitors. So a good example of this is a unique value proposition. That's something that you want people to see very quickly, and that's why you want your unique value proposition to be above the fold in large font and to stand out quickly and easily. So in this case, the variation improved prioritization of visual elements, and the logic behind it was right after telling visitors what product was available, the new visual hierarchy almost forced visitors to read the customer testimonials. So without even being aware of it, those testimonials were doing a lot to influence their decision of whether to actually click on the button or not. So this served to increase credibility by providing social proof and in turn guided visitors' decision making further into the sales funnel. So it was the new visual hierarchy that helped visitors connect the dots and understand the story being told by the web page. And the important point here is that the order of that they were looking at the elements. So in the control page, visitors who proceeded to the next page probably did not read the customer testimonial, and this made the product and its value proposition less credible and possibly impacted sales, which is a fair point. However, the redesigned variation landing page follows many landing page best practices mentioned by Ollie Gardner, the co-founder of Unbounced, and some other aspects worth mentioning, although they remained unchanged in both versions. So in other words, these elements were exactly the same in both the control and the variation. But what they're saying here is that the most important category products in the navigation bar is reinforced by bold text and increased font size. So that's a good point as well. When you have a navigation menu, if there is one particular aspect of the navigation menu, then you can make it larger than the others, and you can also put it in larger font and capital letters as well on the right hand side so it stands out. So that's the first thing. The testimonial by a professional swimmer is absolutely relevant to their aquatic industry type. The larger font size is used to bring attention to the important part of the testimonial. So if you have a look at the testimonial, the font is not all in the same size. The first sentence is smallish font, and then the second sentence is in largest font, which is the more important part. Nothing has the sound quality of or longevity of the underwater audio pod. So that was the main message that they were trying to get across. And details such as price are not mentioned on the homepage to avoid scaring away visitors. This information is revealed only after the visitor has shown some interest, by which time some credibility has already been built around the product and its value. So that's a good point. Sometimes it's best not to show the price on the initial landing page and to get them to click first and to actually create that micro commitment of taking the first action. Trust elements such as the customer care telephone number on the top right and the security seal from GoDaddy on the top left add credibility to the site. So that's a good point. Security seals and telephone numbers are always good to have on your page if possible. Free shipping, warranty period, and payment methods available. Other basic concerns that are addressed on the homepage itself, so that only qualified leads proceed to the next step. So yeah, that's a good point. So free shipping, warranty period, and payment methods available. So they're all things that the customer is going to be thinking about. And if it doesn't address their concerns early, then it might put them off if they're not aware of the options. For effective visual hierarchy, before you begin designing your page, it's important that you first figure out the goals of the web page that are the most important for you and those elements of the content that will contribute to those goals. So that's a very good point. It's very important to become crystal clear on the objective of the page, and of all the elements on the page, which one of those are the most important to make the most prominent and be able to be seen quickly as soon as they open up the page. So there's also an excellent article on the CXL blog, 4 ways to use visual hierarchy to improve UX and boost conversions. I haven't got time to go into this at the moment, but this sort of goes into the concept a lot more about visual hierarchy and is also recommended further reading. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that and got some value out of it. and I'll catch up with you in the next episode of Funnel Fella Radio. Bye for now.